I think you're going to feel sad about what I'm about to tell you.
Didn't make
Zion, what if I told you the Zion did not make the list? It finished 32nd overall.
I'm not surprised. I told you that was the one I thought very much so. I mean, his career as an athlete's been pathetic. I also think that speaks to how many people are post 2020 in this list, like taking the survey, making a list, because I don't know many cards that had more of an impact than Zion. Period. And he stinks as an athlete, but the most hyped guy in the history of basketball in terms of the hobby. Not close, by the way. Wemby, I guess, but there was also this weird top Panini thing with Wemby, so there's autos, there's not autos. Autos are coming out a year later. Zion was ridiculous. His first game out, he has like 17 points in 4 minutes and is just stupid. He's dunking, he's shooting threes. At the time, there was nothing like the rage of Zion. There were a bunch, like Zion's a fatty on the court. We had a bunch of fatties pushing each other at Walmart to get blasters so they could pull the Prizm Zion card. There's your quote. Fatties pushing for Zion. That Zion card is one of the most iconic, and I don't care if he never plays again.
We're definitely going to put that in the reel. There's no question about it. Fatties pushing fatties. So here's some more data that's interesting for you. Actually, I'm going to ask you this. Where do you think you finished higher? The community list is everybody. The expert list is mostly people who have been around for a long time in the hobby. Not all, but mostly people who've been around a long time. Which of those two lists would you guess that the Zion finished higher on?
I would think the expert, but you've got a smirk about you, so I'm going to say it finished higher on the public list.
Some of these things are really different. So the community had it at 26, and the experts had it at 36. So they were actually pretty close, and that sort of weighed out to where it is. But here's the really interesting part, and I think this is one that you should have a fun time with if you're sort of talking to somebody who's not in the hobby. The Nikola Jokic finished 53rd. Overall. So the Zion finished way higher than maybe the best player of the whole era in the same set. So
as it should.
And that's really interesting, right? It's like, which card's more recognizable? Which card has meant more to the hobby? The card of the guy who's not nearly as good.
Yeah, again, Jokic is going to go down as a top 15, 10 player all time. I don't know. Great. But 2015 Prizm was a different thing. 2015 Prizm was not Prizm like we know it. And 2019, 2020 Prizm was a whole nother animal. Blasters that were retailing for $39.99 were being sold for $300. Like the buzz around Zion, and everybody knew, hey, this PSA 10 base card shouldn't be $800 or $1,000. These silver PSA 10 shouldn't be $10,000. But I don't care. He's going to come out and dunk over Rudy Gobert. You know, it just, the timing was perfect. Like, the pre his even like his college hype, the hype he had coming out, like I said, guys always, it seems like guys have a short memory with that. Wemby, yes, but I also don't think anybody thought Wemby year one was going to come out and just be this dominant force. I think a lot of people, if you remember at the time, were like, Zion's going to come in and dominate offensively, and quite frankly he did. He was injured a lot, but when he was on the court, he was unstoppable. Even now he's unstoppable. The Zion thing was like nothing else, though. There's never been a buzz about Jokic. Jokic is great. There's never been a buzz. I don't think there's very few basketball players that have the buzz that Zion had. But it's also this thing of, ever. But it's also this comparison of like Cal Ripken, very, very good for forever, or my guy Pedro, who was excellent for a short stretch. I'll take Pedro. Like, Zion had his moment in the sun, and he was king of the mountain, and it was the most unbelievable card. Jokic has been 1,000 times better and is going to do it 1,000 times longer. I like the peak.
So to me, iconic means the thing that you'll remember. And the thing that you can think of in your mind without having to think too hard.
Yep.
And a lot of times that has nothing to do with how good a player is. So a lot of really smart people, their philosophy on this is that the player has to be great. That the player has to be great for the card to have staying power in terms of how iconic it is in our minds, and that's probably true. I think that for the card to be continually viewed as a highly valuable card or a wanted card, the player has to be really good. That is an important element here. But it doesn't mean that it's going to be the card that we remember the most. In fact, some of the greatest players of all time, or the most accomplished players, they don't have the sort of following that other guys do. I always point this out with 90s basketball collectors. Penny Hardaway is one of the most collected players from the 90s. he didn't end up having a great career. He's not in the Hall of Fame,
Yep.
and it was cut short by injuries, obviously. But he's worth way more than guys that statistically did way more and won more championships and that sort of thing. Why? Because you remember the little penny commercials. Because you remember culturally how important he was. And Zion, from a cultural importance perspective, especially within the context of the hobby, is so important that I was really interested to see whether he would make the list like you. He just missed it. And I wonder in 5 years, does he have a chance to come back, or is that just going to be based on his performance, do you think?
See, that's the nice thing. He hasn't performed now, and the card is still, like, I would argue it's as iconic as any card on this list, because if you just showed it to a bunch of people, oh yeah, the Zion. Yep. And it's like, oh yeah, I had one of those. Oh yeah, I remember those were crazy valuable at one point. No matter what, it's like everybody from this era will remember that card because it's not the card. It's the fact that it marks that, like, that stamp in time of like, hey, this hobby went absolutely COVID insane. This kid coming out of college who played a few games gets drafted. This unbelievable hype train had an unbelievable first 4-minute debut. And honestly, if he never plays again, it's like, yeah, and look at how it almost becomes more iconic if he's terrible and never does anything. Because then it's like, yeah, you remember this dude? Like, what a joke. Like Michael Olowokandi, terrible, one of the worst #1 picks of all time. Iconic card. You see that 1990, oh god, whatever year that was. He was the #1 pick. Is it 98? Pierce, Dirk? Yeah, you see that card, it's still like, it's iconic because it's like the biggest bust of the 90s.
Candyman.
The Candyman and the biggest bust. And if he just went on to average 10 and 10, it would have been like, oh, yeah, he's okay. Like, kind of a bust, but whatever. The fact that he was an unbelievable bust, I think the same is true of Zion. If he goes on to be great, even better. But if he goes on to be a total bust, yeah, perfect. Like, from the top of the mountain to just rolling all the way down the hill.